So let's pull this tweet up. We have this from Lila Rose, who is, of course, is it Live Action? I never know.
I always call it Live Action.
Live Action.
Live Action it is. Okay.
Till she comes on and tells us.
Pro-life activists, she tweets, there's a crucial conversation happening right now about protecting children and political strategy. She says, we are pro-life activists. What should our response be when Trump repeatedly takes step after step back from what it means to protect innocent preborn lives, to the point of supporting abortion pills and vowing to veto abortion bans? Is it wrong for Trump supporters to demand that pro-life activists be endlessly loyal to Trump in response to repeated betrayal? Expressions of disappointment are not enough. Disappointment is not being counted at the ballot box. The currency in the language in this season is votes. Trump has plenty of opportunity to still win the pro-life vote, and it will only help his campaign. I want Trump to win as a pro-life candidate, but let's be clear, Trump winning as a pro-abortion candidate is a loss for the pro-life movement. Given the current situation, we have two pro-abortion tickets. A Trump win is not a pro-life win right now. Pro-lifers will need to challenge both leaders either way. We only help Trump by sounding the alarm. Trump is losing pro-life votes regardless of what I say because of his own actions. Kamala Harris supports abortion up until birth, unrestricted and tax-funded, of course. Harris does not deserve the pro-life vote. But this does not mean Trump should not be challenged with the truth. We will continue to speak the truth and demand better from the Trump campaign for the sake of innocent babies who cannot speak for themselves. Fear cannot keep us from doing and saying what is right. We are 2 months after the election. It's not too late for Trump to change course. She goes on to mention, she urges Trump to say he will fight for life, et cetera, et cetera. I have no problem with this statement. But when she said that she and many others wouldn't vote for him over this, is just one of the gosh darn stupidest things I've ever heard.
Is this over the IVF statements?
No, this is the conflict has been, she tweeted, if you're not pro-life, you don't get pro-life votes, which is an absurdity. As if the only, welcome to single issue voters, I guess, I get it. But as if I tweeted, and this is so funny because I'm sorry, but people are really dumb and this is just reality. And I'll explain. I tweeted, if you won't ban war, you don't get anti-war votes.
Yeah, if you're not Jesus, you don't get the Christian vote.
Yeah.
That's basically what I was going to tweet. I held back.
If Donald Trump could ban war, I think war is wrong. Trump should be coming out and saying that he will ban war all the time, no matter what, and never allow it to happen, and he will shut. Well, he can't do. That's ridiculous. I'm going to vote to the best of my for the person who's going to get me as close to possible to my goals. We don't jump from A to Z overnight. We have to go through B, C, D, E, F, G, et cetera, et cetera. And so let me tell you, in response to these tweets that I've made, so we're trying to book members of Congress, and our booking is telling us that they're members of Congress who are like, isn't Tim coming after Trump now? Like, are you people really this stupid? Holy crap. They are.
Well, this was about
unnamed. They will remain.
Trump saying he won't sign a law on the national level about abortion. So he was saying, no, we achieved overturning Roe versus Wade. It's now back to the states. Let's leave it at the states. And I think that's the right position for him to take, because I don't think he can win if he's advocating, at least during the campaign, signing federal legislation on abortion. But
he's a moderate.
Yeah. And I do think, though, that this IVF issue, look, it pains me to say it because I didn't like him as a candidate, but Barack Obama probably had the best answer on abortion when he was asked at the Saddleback Church in a debate over that issue with John McCain in 2008. And first he said, and he got ridiculed for saying it, at first he said, at some level, these issues are above my pay grade. I don't know if you guys remember that he said that. And they are. I mean, we can't expect presidents to be medical experts, ethical experts. So one of the things I suggest that Trump do is convene an ethical panel to study all aspects of the IVF issue, because I think all of these questions, like the extra embryos, what happens to them, those are valid questions. Have we ever as a society sat down and said, are those embryos just to be thrown away? What happens to them? We've never really done it. So that's something he can do. Again, day one, just say, we're going to have this panel of ethicists, not just scientists, not bureaucrats, but we're going to talk to religious leaders. We're going to have this process of trying to figure out where we want to go as a society. And maybe we won't come to answers, but at least we'll explore the questions. And I think that the other thing Obama said was, whether you're pro-life or pro-choice, let's all agree to have fewer abortions. Now, he didn't govern that way. He governed as the most radically pro-abortion president we'd ever had until that point. But I think
Democrats don't agree with that today.
They don't agree with that today. No, in fact, yeah. I've seen, I won't say where exactly, but I've seen people literally flying abortion flags.
There are transgender activists males saying they want to get a uterus implant so they can have an abortion, and just for that reason. There was, what's her face? Lena Dunham, who wrote how she wished that she had an abortion. No, hold on. Sometimes when you hear that, It's from someone who had a kid, and then they were like, I should have aborted my kid. No. She wasn't even pregnant. She was just wishing to have gotten pregnant to have an abortion for no reason other than to have the abortion.
It doesn't work the other way. You never hear a female to male transgender person saying, I wish I had testicles so I could have a vasectomy. It doesn't actually work. Nobody ever says
You
that.
might actually hear that. It's just a question of, are we looking for it? You know?
I don't know. But we actually tried to find out at the Democratic Convention how many abortions they did, because they had the abortion truck and then they had the vasectomy truck, but they left after a day or two. So I don't know how many they actually did.
Some people counted 25.
Really? Yeah.
But the question at hand with Lila is, should pro-life individuals not vote for Trump or say they won't vote for Trump because of this issue?
No. I don't think that zealotry and obsession over single issues is the way to handle your politics. It doesn't work.
I have been in the position before where I've been so offended by something a candidate I supported had said that I said, I'm just not voting in this particular race. It's actually happened this year. We have a race for district attorney in LA, and the current guy is a Soros guy. He's terrible. But the guy challenging him has said some really awful stuff. And I think what Trump hasn't done is what that guy did. Trump hasn't disrespected pro-life voters. He hasn't told them that they're wrong. He hasn't told them that they're stupid people, that they're ruining his chances. He hasn't said anything like that. So I think if your candidate takes a position which is not ideal, I don't think you abandon the candidate because one is going to be better than the other. If, however, your candidate runs you down and treats you like dirt, which is what's happening in LA, then I think you say, you know what, you actually didn't get my vote. Like, I would love to vote for you because the guy who's the alternative is so bad, but if you're going to treat me like this now, how are you going to treat me after you get into office?
Especially if your objective is to push for policy that you would be happier with, right? They're probably going to make more progress with Trump than with Harris. Harris is becoming more and more radical on the abortion issue, I feel like, by the minute. And at least with Trump, maybe he's not perfect on the issue, but he is much more amenable to a more intense pro-life worldview than she would be. I liked what you said before about having an ethical conversation about IVF. And I think that's what I was most interested in when Alabama had the case involving parents whose embryos had been dropped and destroyed by someone who had broken into this clinic. They sued the state, or they wanted to sue the hospital and the state under a wrongful death of a child act, and that would acknowledge that these embryos were their children because all of these parents wanted them, right? I mean, It's heartbreaking. It's a terrible situation, and I think that it would be nice if both parties would have the conversation about, we have all this wonderful science and technology, and we can do all these things. We need to revisit the question of life and where does it start, and when do we give it value, and how much value do we give it at every stage, because it does matter. Like, parents who go through IVF want those children. Now, if they conceive 6 embryos and they want 2 kids, not 6, what do they do? What does that look like? And we were talking a little bit about the show, before the show, about embryo adoption, which I'm not a legal expert, but I have heard from a lot of lawyers that it looks more like the transfer of property than it does adoption paperwork, which is also fascinating. Put that on the ethical committee's agenda list. But why is it that these aren't the conversations that we have? Like, even people that I know who've gone through fertility treatments have talked about, because of their religious beliefs or whatever else, asking the doctor, well, do you have to fertilize a lot, or could you keep them separate and fertilize one at a time? Like, what conversations are people not even aware they could have with their doctor because they're given so little information other than Trump's trying to take it away, and actually, you must do it this way. There's so much, I think, there are so many gray areas with this where people are so scared and they're pouring so much money into this what feels like a single shot that they don't even know what their options are because we won't talk about them.
Tim raised another issue, which is the fact that we're not replacing our population. And that wasn't the case 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. We had a birth rate above replacement rate. I'm really fascinated by this problem because I'm not sure exactly what happened in the last 20 years. Some people say it's these things that have distracted us or whatever, but I think that that's also a conversation to have. And maybe the reframe for conservatives is sort of what Obama did for Democrats on abortion, where Obama said, well, let's talk about reducing the number of abortions no matter what the actual laws are. Maybe conservatives need to say, how do we encourage people to have more children? We want people to have more children. And that's the context in which we were going to have this conversation about IVF. And it could also include things like more support for childcare. One of the best ideas that Ivanka Trump had in the White House that was never acted on was trying to find some way of subsidizing or supporting childcare and daycare, which is so expensive. it doesn't need to be that expensive. And Democrats who like to spend a lot of money like to say that everything pays for itself. You know, Kamala Harris with her line about return on investment, and she didn't really know what that meant when she said it. But I do think that if you can find a way to support childcare, you do get a return on investment for the taxpayer, because a mother or father who can go back into the workforce and work and earn money and get income that you can tax can actually pay the federal taxpayer back for the cost of the childcare, depending on how much is being supported. But I think we do need to have a conversation as a society. Why aren't we having more kids? What is it? Have we become less optimistic? Are we going to church less often? Are we meeting fewer people? You know, it's a great irony. And I do think it's cultural also, because there are some studies that say we're not just having fewer children, we're also having less sex. Like, as liberated as we are, you can choose your gender, you can choose whatever, you know, but people aren't getting together and just enjoying each other.
It's feminism.
That's it.
It's a lot of things.
But it's primarily, and it's that you go back to the 50s, women prioritized family. And so women prioritized relationships. Today, men do the same thing men have done. They go out, they try and find jobs. Some are in school, some are not in school. Guys do guy stuff. It was the pressure from women who were deciding on what they want to do with their lives, and men had to adhere to what women wanted. Guys, they want to find a woman, they want to hook up, they want to be in a relationship, whatever. The woman would dictate. She'd say, "I want a guy who's got a good job because I want to have a family," and the guy would be like, "I better get it going." Now women are like, "I want a guy who wants to go out on the weekends and party and be in my polycule because I got work Monday through Friday until 10 p.m." And so having a family is not a component of what women want today. They're girl bossing. They're going to freeze their eggs so that they can do it later in life when they feel like it. Doesn't work all the time, but it is this shift in culture in the big, end of the 60s into the 70s, and a long time coming too. I mean, especially you go back to the 1900s and suffrage and all that, where women's priorities shifted from family into work. And as long as both men and women prioritize work, there will not be family. But opposites attract.
But are men prioritizing work? Because we have so many men just doing nothing. I mean, there's some problem with male motivation as well.
Because men have no, look, what do guys want to do? There's a reason why they're following Andrew Tate. And Andrew has 10 million followers. Why? Well, young men see a dude who's ripped, super wealthy, smoking cigars, saying he's got all the women, he can do whatever he wants. And guys are like, how do I get there? Mm-hmm. So why do guys go and get jobs? Dude, guys are happy sleeping under bridges. Like, guys are content with very little. It's a large spectrum. And so there's a motivating factor in the biological drive that guys will have is they need to rise to a certain level. But if that level is non-existent, then they just do nothing.
I agree with you that men are motivated. A lot of men are motivated by achievement. Not all men are motivated to reach the same level of achievement. And I think that is maybe a cultural factor. At one point, having a family, being successfully married was an achievement. But now we don't value those things the same way. And so both sexes, for different reasons, don't need to think about, well, when and why do I want to start a family? I'd be interested to see a series of interviews with couples who intentionally chose to just have one child, because you are dipping your feet in the water, right? I mean, it's serious. You have a kid, you're raising them, but also like you stopped after that. What is the justification? Is it economic? Is it cultural? Is it that you both want to be able to have a life outside the home, so you alternate who's with the child? Like, why is one enough? Because that's ultimately still below replacement rate, but you are giving up the childless lifestyle that so many people say is what's drawing people away from having families.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.